GMO-free Idaho. Jenny Easley here with Leslie Stoddard. We are at the Cornerstone Bistro in Middleton, Idaho. I happen to live in Middleton and discovered this gem in our valley, and I wanted to share it with you. And we're here with owner Ben Thorpe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started, just in being a chef or in the restaurant business.
Well, I guess it starts at a very young age. I come from a very, food-minded family. As I was joking with you earlier, my dad was a conservation officer. When I was growing up, we lived in a pretty rural area. My mother was a hippie, like certified hippie. I mean, certified, yeah, the real deal, yeah. So from a very young age, not only just because of locational issues, there weren't many grocery stores around. We raised a lot of our own food. We always had a large garden, so some of my earliest memories are of playing in the dirt. And a little plug for the movie Dirt. If you haven't seen it yet, you should see it. I got to see it with Susan Middleton a couple weeks ago. It's fantastic. It's great. It's a great movie. So it's a little shameless plug for the film, but go out and watch it.
That's a good thing.
Anyway, so we started young. I mean, we always, in our household, part of our educational development was cooking. I was homeschooled. My parents both had strong educational backgrounds, and were not impressed with the schools around us. And also because of the rural environment, so I was home tutored until junior high school. And as part of that, we always spent a large portion of our time cooking, raising food, visiting farms. We always got milk from the guys down the road that did trade with my parents for things. And so I kind of grew up in that environment. And so I really have my parents to thank for it. I actually worked as a minister for a while before becoming a
very eclectic.
Yeah. I had a sort of weird background. I went to seminary out of high school, and I've done quite a bit of missionary work. In high school and first parts of college, I traveled to Papua New Guinea and South Africa, sometime in Mozambique and Zimbabwe doing relief work. And so this is part of why I have the philosophy I have with food, mainly because I've seen the effects of monoculture, how it can affect a particular area causing drought. And I saw that at a very young age, also seeing how our choices in our society affect other people and their ability to grow crops or their ability to sustain themselves, and seeing that firsthand. So that was part of that sort of development. I didn't realize it at the time, but it really changed my perspective about what was important, what I was going to pursue in life. With the restaurant, it's been sort of an interesting process. We're coming into our second year, 1st of July, and it's been an interesting development. I mean, for the first 6 months we were here, we had a pretty good welcoming from the community. It's definitely been interesting to see the sort of evolution of my clientele from what they'll eat. It's like from what they wanted before to what they're willing to accept from me now, to the point where 90% of my sales are my daily specials. People just go, well, I'll just have whatever the chef's cooking for the day. And I have to say I was a little shocked coming into rural Idaho again. In Middleton, I consider this rural farmland. All of it's agriculture around here. And once again, people, they're like, what's organic? Why does it matter if it's GMO? Why is it, stuff on our menu talking about, free-range chicken or non-GMO potatoes, so there's certain things that I don't serve in my restaurant, and I've sort of worked people into it, and I've made choices that there's certain products I just won't sell or I won't use. For instance, like in my deep fat fryer, I use a non-GMO rice bran oil, which is really expensive. It's really hard to find, but I can't use soy. And for a while we used pork fat, because I can get organic pork fat, but it's difficult in a cold place because it smells like bacon. So,
which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but I get a lot of vegan customers, and I don't want to exclude them. And so the rice bran oil is a nice option for that. I did consider the demographics around here. Middleton actually has one of the highest per capita incomes in the state, which is surprising. not in the city proper, but if you look at the taxable region, there's quite a bit of bedroom community out here. People bought houses out here aren't going bankrupt because they didn't pay too much for them. And there's also a lot of agriculture. Farmers still tend to have a decent amount of liquid income, at least in the current economy. And they're actually doing much better than most people. And so I do get a lot of farmers and ranchers.
But certainly when you come into a little town like Middleton and the
assess,
residents here are used to other kinds of restaurants
they're used to Jim's Burger Den or the Chaparral, and and probably the mistake I made in the beginning is that I kept the name of the place that was here previously. It was called the American Cafe, and I do Nuevo American cuisine, and which is a hybrid of international techniques. So I use Italian and French cuisine, where the techniques of that are some traditional ingredients, and then apply local organic ingredients to it with sort of my inspiration with tied to it. So I looked at the demographic, I looked at the location, and thought we can make this work. It doesn't have to be downtown San Francisco, and I don't have to be a breakfast joint. I don't need to be a burger joint. Let's just try it. The risk versus return were
and it's
equal.
And it's a good teaching opportunity because not everybody has the chance to travel all over to the different places that you were saying to see firsthand where
it's like. And so,
you can teach
one of the things I do like about this area is that, and one of the things I looked at is like, what kind of farms are around? Where can I buy from? Where can I source my product? And we live in a place where I can get some of the best cuisine available, best ingredients available anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. If I want Wagyu beef, I can get it from M&M Farms. Or I can get, I have a guy that raises tomatoes for me that lives 2 miles from here. I buy local eggs from somebody, And so I'm in a location where I don't have to source from 3,000 miles away or 600 miles away. I can get the product here, and that was part of the consideration going into business here. I was a little shocked at sort of the apathy towards the quality of the ingredients at first. As long as there was a steak available and there's potatoes with it, and that's what people were looking for, or they thought that's what they were looking for.
And then they taste.
And then they try something different, and people come back. We've had a really good, consistent return of customers. Probably 70% of our customers are return customers.
That's great.
Mostly, I draw people from Eagle and Boise, and I've had a lot of good support and I guess vocal PR from the Treasure Valley Food Coalition and from the co-op and from Somers. They've done a really nice thing in just helping promote me. And as I find myself getting more involved with local farmers and local producers, they're your champions too. And so I stay full when we're open. And it's I don't get a lot of support from the city of Middleton or from the people that live here. I get a lot of vocal support, and truthfully, my food's a little more expensive, and so I understand that economically it's not always easy for people to go out to eat. One thing I've tried to do is to keep my menu reasonable, from a $10 price range up to the $40 steak that I'm selling.
Well, and on your menu you have the $40 burger, which I was told the story of that was that it was actually a $40 burger in Portland.
Yeah, the same meat. If you go to Red Feather, if you go to Chandler's, the burger would be $50. So it's but it doesn't cost you that much. I mean, my wholesale cost on Kobe is $60 a pound. And,
so it doesn't really cost $40.
No,
by the way.
it's $13. Yeah, and I sell a lot of it actually. And I actually just got a bunch of buffalo from Brown's Buffalo, and so we're going to switch out to Buffalo Burger now. So.
And I'll tell you that after I had that was the first time I'd had Ballard's. The lavender or the truffle? The lavender.
Yeah, the lavender's good.
I had the lavender, and so
that actually, the lavender comes from Green
truffle?
Goat. Comes from Green Goat.
Really?
Yeah.
Lavender.
It's Jill. What is her last name?
It's lavender cheese.
Yeah, it's lavender and roasted fennel chev. It's so good.
It is.
Anyway,
Really
I have some you can take home.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I have a gift for you. So.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that, and you're right. The taste is completely different, and so customers come back based on taste.
On flavor, yeah. I try to give them an experience that they wouldn't get here otherwise, and that's you know, if you're in a place like Middleton, you have to have some sort of appeal that draws people in, because you don't have enough foot traffic or enough local people that are going to support you and keep you in business. And the way we can do that is by giving exceptional food in a place that's sort of out of the ordinary.
Right.
And I'm okay with being the place that people, their friends tell them about.
Right.
And we've really done very little marketing.
No,
for 2
and
years,
I'll
so.
tell you, my friends all know what I do as far as GMO-free Idaho goes. And I had at least 5 or 6 different people say, you've got to go try American Cafe, back when you were still called American Cafe. You've got to go meet the owner. And it took me a little while before I actually did, because I kind of underestimated that there'd really be that here in Middleton.
The thing that's been interesting for me is my own personal development. I mean, I grew up caring about where my food came from. Of course, in the 70s and 80s, nobody knew what GMO was. I mean, it wasn't something that was the issue that we have today. It wasn't as pervasive as it is now. And, you know, so my sort of passion in serving certain things has developed over the last 2 years. And it's gotten to the point where, you know, I get fed up and I'm like, well, I can't do this anymore, and I'm going to do this. And if I go to business, fine. You know, I have to live with myself, and I want to make sure that I'm feeding my customers something that's not going to hurt them, and that rather is a benefit to them. And so, in a way, we consider ourselves food missionaries. I mean, we really are. It's a mission endeavor, and because there are people that have absolutely no idea. Well, why does it matter? Why does it matter if this doesn't come out of a box, or if I buy the stuff that's labeled, or and you have an opportunity. People ask that kind of questions, like, well, I don't really care, but why does it matter to you?
Right.
And then you have an opportunity to explain it to them. It's amazing what knowledge can do.
That's true, and that's what we do. And through my learning about food and what's in our food that I didn't know was in our food, that's when I became a conscious consumer.
Yeah.
And that's when I became the kind of person who, if I can only go out to eat once every couple months, I'd rather do that and spend the money and make sure that it's ethical.
Right. And you're supporting somebody who's doing it.
Local.
And it really the way that we change this is through consumers. I mean, you know, businesses respond to the demands of consumers. It's not government oversight. It's not, you know, the government can do a little bit, you know, but the way it changes is by in a sense, purchasing, you know, being offensive in the way we purchase, meaning going out and seeking the things that we want, and businesses will respond to that.
And it just makes sense. Why not buy from your local restaurant who's sourcing from
your local farmers? Yeah.
Hello?
Basically, I buy product from them, and they come out and they spend their money here, and it's a great relationship. So,
can you talk a little bit about where you source them from? You mentioned a few places.
Yeah. So,
name drops.
Right now, about 90% of my stuff I'm getting from Idaho's Bounty. And so I get things from like Ryan at Sweet Valley Organics, Peaceful Belly, Springs of Life. Right now I'm getting beef from M&N Farms. Greg, I can't remember Greg's last name. He has a ranch in Ketchum, and then also in Bliss. And they raise 100% Wagyu, so it's a Kobe style beef. It's all grass fed, which is nice because you know, in the past I was getting some product from Snake River Farms. Snake River Farms doesn't care what kind of feed they give their cattle, and so they're using most likely GMO grain, and I'm concerned about that. And the thing that's interesting is if you buy Wagyu and it's grass-fed, it's very, very tasty. It's still very tender, and if you prepare it properly, it's just as good, if not better, than the stuff you get from Snake River Farms. Is Snake River Farms a step up from buying just beef anywhere? Sure, it is, because they have a very clean operation. You know, they're local. It's a local operation. You want to support that, but also, you know, the way you encourage them to change what they're doing is to say, when the rep calls you up and is like, well, you need to order, it's like, well, I'm not going to buy from you anymore because of this, and they think about that. It does make an impact, and so. That's sort of the choice-making process has been for me. Is being in connection with Idaho's Bounty has been fantastic. Previously, I had to do a lot of footwork, going out to find product. There's a guy up here in Middleton, Pat King. He used to sell flowers. It's called King's Nurseries, and you know, the business in flowers is terrible. And he had gotten fed up with doing it because anytime he'd plant, he'd have a representative from Monsanto come in and tear out all of his plants because they were accuse him of washing seeds or, you know, that it might, yeah, they actually are legally.
What was the farm?
It's called
It's
King's
King's
Nurseries.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat King, and so he just started raising produce, and right now he's raising tomatoes for me and carrots, and it's all heirloom, and he has some great product. And it's
Does he sell to consumers?
He doesn't. It's real small scale
okay.
at this point. He's probably going to give it up because he can't make enough money doing it.
We need some CSAs out here
Yeah.
on our side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And then I buy, of course, from Purple Sage Farms, and that kind of came about because I was looking around and I found him on MapQuest. I was like, I just called him up. And then the relationship with Idaho's Bounty developed out of that because their daughter Arlie is a rep for Idaho's Bounty, and so she's put me in connection with more farmers. And then by just luck, Susan Middleton came out to one of my chef's tables, which I do on a Saturday night. So it's like a 5-course meal. We've done one for Chinese New Year in January, and that's really blown things up for me. She came out, loved it, and has told everybody. So now I can serve chicken because she sourced chicken for me, and
Right.
you know, and be able to find.
That's not luck, by the way.
No, I know. It's not. It
It's all
was
part
luck,
of the plan.
It was luck for me, and it was divine intervention that we didn't have to make that connection. It's a satisfying job. So,
I bet.
well, I really appreciate your coming out to talk to me.
Yes,
Thank
this
you
was
taking
great.
time.
I'm glad it was here.
Yeah, I'm glad you were too.
Yeah, it was fate. So,
So,
Yeah.
come to the Cornerstone Bistro in Middleton.
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday nights.
make sure you call ahead.
Yeah.
Reservations are highly recommended. We have very little place for you to wait, and we typically